salutations, and welcome to the Rant Squad. I am the Water Dog, this is
Jordan.
and this is
Brennan Menard.
and we are doing our September report card. We're going to tell you what we think about the NFL teams after the first month of play. 4 weeks are in the books, and we're going to start putting out grades. And so we're going to start with our biggest surprise team. And Clinton, who is your biggest surprise team this year?
We mentioned them last week, and they keep impressing. Now, I don't know why, but I just got this gut feeling they're not going to be able to sustain the success. But Washington, just really impressive. Jaden Daniels really looking like a C.J. Stroud second coming. So far, a better rookie season than C.J. Stroud had in his first 4 games. Very impressive for Jaden Daniels. He's taking what the defense gives him. He's still being able to take shots. The only worry I have with that is their defense. You know, right now their offense is compensating for the lack of defensive stopping.
Right.
But obviously, I don't think we're going to see. You know, he's going to have a game where that offense, struggles and they have to go through a fight. Can their defense keep them in it? That's my only worry. But Washington, just from top to bottom, the run game's been good. Brian Robinson Jr. has looked good. Terry McLaurin's getting involved. I think they'll start to get Luke McCaffrey involved more, and I just really like what they're doing in Washington. Youthful, young, and they're going to be built together.
3-1, currently leading the East.
Yes, they lead the East because they have a game of division record of 1-0.
Now, I have looked at their games. The only game they lost to was the Buccaneers, which is the only team that has a winning record. Every other team they beat is 1-3. Yes. They still have Cowboys and Eagles twice on their schedule, and to me, that's going to be the big test because if they're really going to take this division, they're going to have to beat those 2 teams.
And I know we'll talk about it for a few teams. I don't see them being able to take it from one of those 2. They could. I don't feel.
Are they a playoff team right now?
I have them at 8. I wanted to put them in so bad. I was this close. I had them at 8. I just couldn't.
Ain't got them there yet.
Ain't got them there yet.
All right.
They're close though.
Well, mine's the Seattle Seahawks, and I'll tell you, if there's a team that truly surprises me, it's them more than any other team. And I'm just really, and I think this is Geno's best year since he's been there.
Really? His first year as a starter was pretty good.
I'm talking about the way he's playing now, the way they are directing that offense and everything else. I think this is the best he's looked for them, and I think this is the best that this team has looked since he's become the starter there. And the running game is just amazing. Last night they lost, but it wasn't because of Geno.
It was one. I know there's no such thing as a good loss, but I was happy to see because one thing I felt like we hadn't seen is can that offense get out there and keep up, and they did. And they absolutely kept up. I mean, having Kenneth Walker back, they've got a great 1-2 punch, a top 5 1-2 punch at running back, a great 1-2-3 at wide receiver. I agree. This team,
they're in the same hole as Washington. They've got some defensive holes, and so but this team's young.
They are.
I mean, the only thing that they've really got true veteran leadership is at the quarterback position, but everything else, there's young talent spread across the field, and so they're 3-1. And they might be the best team in that division.
They
might be.
I think there's an argument they could win that division. With the news about McCaffrey having them both.
Man, I can't put them there yet.
I don't.
I'm not saying they don't. So I'm saying that they could.
So when we get into that, I'm still going with the 49ers. But I can easily see where Seattle has a shot at this division. They've got a shot at it.
All right. Well, Brendan, who you got?
I agree with Clint over there. I think the Commanders, to me, are my surprise team through the first 4 weeks. If you go back to week 1, I want to say, we were talking about teams. And it might have been when we picked divisions.
Yeah, well, it's when we picked teams to make the playoffs, and Washington was on the bubble.
Correct, because I thought the Commanders would be good next year. Because I know what Jaden Daniels can do. Loved watching him for 2 years at LSU. I watched him become who we've seen this year. In college, very impressive team. And when I look at their schedule, because I was looking at that, so next they got Cleveland, which I think is a very winnable game for this team, the way that they are playing. They have the Ravens. I think that's a toss-up game. Because if they play like they did against Cincinnati, they
at home or in Baltimore?
In Baltimore.
Oh, they'll lose that game.
They might. But what I'm saying is, who would have picked them to go to Cincinnati and win that one?
Well, right now, right now, because I'm picking everybody against Cincinnati right now. As of right now, to me, Cincinnati, is a team that I picked to not do well this year, and they are they finally got their first win.
They'll be fine.
We'll find out.
But here's my thing: they could. Okay, so even if we count that as a loss, I think they could beat Cleveland. After the Ravens, they have the Panthers at home. That's a win. Then they got the Bears at home. That's a win. For me, then they go to New York. To me, that's a win against the Giants. The Steelers go to Washington. I'll give that one a loss. Pittsburgh has a really good defense. Then that's where you go to your Eagles and Cowboys games. And I think they can beat Dallas. Philly, I don't think so, because by the time they play them, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, that team will kind of be back. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys. I actually have them as a wild card now. I think they've impressed me just at the way that they find ways to win. Jaden Daniels has looked amazing. I think for these first 4 games of the season. And they're not going to win that division, but I think they will be the wild card team.
All righty, let's do it to it. Now we're going to go to the biggest disappointment team. Biggest disappointment, Clint. Who you got?
I'm really disappointed in the Arizona Cardinals. I thought Kyler looked really good at the end of last year. You had Marvin Harrison Jr., James Conner's coming back. You got the tight end, Trey McBride. I really thought that they were the team that in the AFC West that I didn't have in the playoffs. But I was like, man, I really thought or the NFC West, my bad. I really thought they could come out and surprise teams. They were going to have a last place schedule.
Looked like they did work.
And that's where I was getting at, right? It looked like that's what they were going to do because they hung around Buffalo, and it's a good feeling. Then you win a game. Oh, you look good, but it's just it feels like this team just can't put it together, and you'll only get so far on. Man, that was a good loss.
I've had Kyler Murray as my fantasy quarterback ever since he got into the league. One of my leagues.
Second year, you traded for him.
And he's done nothing but go up and down. Yeah. I've never seen him where he's had a consistency.
Well, there was that one year they started 8-1. They started 8-1, and they looked great. But yeah, outside of that, I really thought. I thought they could be the sneaky team, and I was ready, especially after the Buffalo game.
It seems like the personnel would allow that to be.
You would think, and so I know they're not everyone's biggest disappointment, but I was convinced that they were my sleeper. That I was like, man, I think they could really.
1-3 right now. Probably should be 2-2. But yeah, for 1-3, yeah, I go. Mine's easy because I picked this team to make the playoffs. That's the Jacksonville Jaguars. I don't even know what's wrong. I have no clue. They finally actually played competitively against the Texans this past Sunday. Should have beat the Texans as far as I'm concerned in that game. But I do not understand what's going on.
Situational football.
It's not only that, it's like Trevor Lawrence doesn't even look like the same quarterback from his first 2 seasons. He doesn't even it's like he has digressed tremendously, and I don't get it. And I don't know what it is. It's just disappointing. I just look at the whole team, and Etienne has not performed as well as he could have. The receiving core has not panned out.
The only shining spot on that team is that rookie Brian Thomas Jr. He's the only bright spot.
And it's just, even defensively they give up, yards when they shouldn't be giving up yards. So I don't know. Has the coach lost the team?
Yes.
You think so?
I think they have a lot of talent on that team. I think, I know Clint's a lot more of an Eagles expert than I am, but at the end of his Eagles run, this kind of happened, which forced him out there. They have a lot of talent on that team. I don't think they have a lot of injuries. I know Luke Quan got hurt, but he played 3 games in a quarter and a half. So you really can't say he's impacted this team going 0-4 that much. I could understand if you're missing your running back, starting wide receiver, offensive lineman. They're not.
They have no excuse.
There's no excuse to me other than coaching. You have to have your team better than that.
No, I hated the quote. I think I don't have the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of Peterson said, "I can't go out there and make the plays for him too." And I just don't think. He's.
I don't know, but they are missing something. There's just a missing thing. Brendan, who you got?
So I've been waffling on this kind of all day. and I think Jacksonville for all the reasons I just named, but mine's going to be the Cincinnati Bengals. For the reason I picked them to be a playoff team, I thought they were going to win this division. To me, they have no excuses. They're healthy because going in when we picked these, I said, well, if Joe Burrow's healthy, they're going to win that division. He's healthy. Chase is healthy. You know, I know Higgins was 2 weeks. He was out, but even then, you know, you got your number one guy. You force-fed him for at least, the last 2 years. The Cincinnati Bengals to be last, I think, in that division right now at 1-3. I know you weren't really big on them, so I guess hats off to you on that. But, you know, I think they will turn it around, but very disappointing in September for this team.
I think losing Joe Mixon hurts a lot. I think that they've been starting slow, which hurts a lot. And their defense is just not as stout as it was last year, especially up front. But Burrow, you know, you take the second halves of some of these games and you look at the game this past week and stuff like that. I mean, Burrow has played good football, but, you know, once again, you still got to have the other components that go into play.
It's a team game. It's a team game, but
to me,
I'm not worried.
To me, it's not even really the offense, and I'm not worried about them not making the playoffs solely because you have the game against the Chiefs and against the Commanders that were really close. That those were easily could have been one game, so they could be 3-1.
Don't they play the Ravens next week?
Yes.
No, is it next week or this week?
This week. That's what I'm saying. This coming
It's
this
this week,
weekend.
but-
This weekend.
Yeah.
So I'm not panicking on
And what if they go 1-4? What if they lose to the Ravens?
They're not going to win that game.
They're going to beat.
They're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens.
But, you know, so they could be
Kelly, which one? They're going to
Right.
beat the Baltimore Ravens.
Okay.
But as far as September, we don't look at that. We just look at the final score, the records, and to be 1-3 at the end of September is very disappointing for that team.
All right, now we're going to go to some players. Let's go look at for the month of September, Clint. Who is the most valuable player?
It's Jake Daniels. He's turned around that team. He has turned around that team. Listen, there's an argument to be made for players like Sam Darnold, like Baker Mayfield. I think both of those are great teams that and with good coaching, and I think you could put a lot of quarterbacks in there. I'm not saying they're going to do what those quarterbacks have done, but Jaden Daniels has single-handedly turned this offense around. I mean, I just cannot say more. That's enough said. He has just impressed me with his quarterback play. Like I said, the first 4 weeks of this season have been better than C.J. Stroud's first 4 weeks. I'm just impressed.
Okay. Well, you said mine. It's Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold. He leads the league in touchdowns. He's got 11. He leads the league in QBR at 118.9. The Vikings are 4-0, and they look like a Super Bowl contender to me right now, especially when you also look at the defensive side of the football. And I never would have thought that they would have been I thought they would make the playoffs, but they're even better than I thought as of right now. What I'm looking at right now is I'm saying now, who do you have in a Super Bowl bubble? You put the Vikings in there, and I think a lot of that goes to the fact that Sam Darnold has played as well as he has, and that he's been able to work with O'Connell, and they've been able to get that ship going.
I agree. It was great.
Brendan, who you got?
So, you know, I had a good feeling Clinton was going to pick Jay Daniels. I think he's had an outstanding September as an offensive player. A lot of credit to him. I think Sam Darnold as well. I think he's done really well. But I think the reason Sam Darnold is Justin Jefferson. And that's my pick. Justin Jefferson for the month of September, I think has helped Sam Darnold a lot. And getting him to the numbers that he has, to them being 4-0 as a safety blanket. It was a 97-yard touchdown he had in one of those games. He's just been a really good safety blanket. He's the best wide receiver in football. And we would not be talking about Sam Darnold if it was not for Justin Jefferson.
Okay. All righty. We're going to go to the MVP on the defensive side of the football. Clinton.
The reason I picked this player, it's not because he leads the league in sacks. That's just another point. But to have officially a 0 on the stat line, but absolutely wreck a game. Aiden Hutchinson, man. Last night in the Seattle game, he had 0. He had no tackles. He had no sacks. He had no pass defense. Every play, he's right there, especially once we got to that fourth quarter when the offense kind of slowed down for Seattle. Aiden Hutchinson was there. It was so many times he was so close to a sack. I mean, he just is so dominant to me.
When you've got powerful defensive line, that can sit there and occupy 2 to 3 players because
And
that's
that's
what,
what he's
because
doing.
that's what they do. It frees up
Yeah.
everything else.
And I just look. He reminds me of DeMarcus Ware, and now 2 completely different players. But one thing I always remember about DeMarcus Ware, watching those old Cowboys games, I say old because I'm young, is he would bull rush you all game long, which is what Aiden Hutchinson did, right? He was pushing that tackle into Geno Smith's lap, but then just when you think you've got it figured out, he does this. He bull rush fake spin move, and he's right there, and just the repertoire that man has. I tell you what, if he could just learn to jump and swat and pick a ball, man, he just have it all. And I'm just so impressed with Aiden Hutchinson. He's got 7 sacks through the first 4 weeks. He's on pace to destroy the sack record. Everybody's always on pace the first couple weeks, but I'm just saying, like, I've just been so impressed with Aiden Hutchinson.
All righty. Well, mine's T.J. Watt, Pittsburgh Steelers, and there's a lot of the same things that goes into that because when you look at Watt, he doesn't have a whole lot of tackles. He's got 12. You look at his sacks, he's got 3. But why is he involved in every play? And then if you look at what the Steelers defense has done, they are 4th in yards allowed at 261.3. They are 3rd in rushing yards allowed at 86.8. And in total points allowed, they are 2nd at 13.3. And they are 3-1. And they are currently leading their division. And they could have won this 4th game not for a fumble. Take the fumble away. All of a sudden, this is a team that's 4-0 instead of 3-1. And so there you go. So mine has got to be Mr. T.J. Watt. That brother is just
good.
He's so good. I like watching these guys play. So like Aiden Hutchinson, T.J. Watt, and then Warner. Oh my gosh! It's just some of these defensive players have just been tearing up things.
Exciting.
You know, and then the other one. Who was the other guy that I just wanted to make sure? E.J. Speed. E.J. Speed for Indianapolis. Oh my gosh, that guy is all over the place. It's just all over the place. Who you got?
You know, I like the argument for Hutchinson. I think, you know, as far as the sacks are concerned, they had that one game, was it 3 or 4?
Yeah. I think 4.5. He was half a sack from breaking the Lyons.
Yeah, so we're 4.5 in one game. I think that was really impressive. Definitely pads his stats for a season-long thing. It's a great pick. T.J. Watt, I think, is an excellent pick. I'm going to go Matt Crosby. I understand he missed a week, but I think when I think about that Raiders defense, he is the person I think about first. And coming in that where he's taken the double teams and stuff like that, I think he's been very dominant in it. And you know, I came in knowing I'm picking 3rd, and I knew we were probably going 1 and 2. So you don't want to pick the same player, but I think Max Crosby's had an outstanding.
Raiders are 2-2.
Yeah.
2-2. Could be 3-1.
Yeah, but also could be 2-2 because they should have lost the Ravens game.
Still 2-2. Could be 3-1.
Could be 1-3.
And they.
And Trey's their number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Oh, they will be. They will be.
But I think they've been competitive in every game. So one of the things, you know, a lot of people were already saying was, you got a defensive head coach. A lot of times these defensive head coaches, they're the ones that say, well, you shouldn't hire a defensive head coach, right? And plus, really an unproven, because this is a guy that really just came off the New York Giants, went over there as an assistant coach, and then all of a sudden he's the head coach of this team, you know, Antonio Pierce. But for whatever reason, you know, he's got this thing going. They're 2-2. They're in every game, you know. And then defensively, yeah.
Well, I think he's got a majority. I won't say all, but he's got majority of those players. They're bought into him.
Yes.
They want him.
I think, you know, I think Crosby's coming back this week. To me, watching that game last week, they looked better without Devontae Adams. They found their run game. They got some of those other receivers involved. And so I think this team's really just going to keep going up. Once they really find that run game and get Madison that workload.
But haven't we figured this out real quick? Anybody that can run the football is going to be successful. Yeah. I mean, if you look at all the teams, how did Baltimore get the ship right? They were able to run the football. How did the Lions get their ship right? They ran the football. How did the 49ers get their ship right? They're running the football.
Well,
okay?
A guy that I almost picked for this was your IDP last week. And was it Robert?
Blaine.
Dude, I picked him up to play against you. But, you know, he's had a great season on that Raiders defense as well statistically.
I want to say he's leading the league in tackles. I can't remember.
I think he's second. But he's up there.
Yeah.
So, you know, that Raiders team is really good. And so.
Yeah. All right. All right, so let's talk about playoff picks. Here we go. Playoff picks. And so, Clint, you can make changes to your playoff teams. Is that a big yes? And so, if that is the case, sir, who is coming in and who is coming out for you?
All right, so obviously after a month, you can usually always make some changes. I actually don't have a lot of changes. Looking at the AFC, I had the Bills win in the East. I still like it. I had the Kansas City Chiefs win the West. I still like it. I had the Houston Texans win the South. Still like it. I had the North being won by the Bengals. I'm holding. I know people are going to call me crazy. The offense has, for the most part, figured it out. I think that they are so close. I know we can say this about every team. They're close to being 3-1. I have faith, so I'm going to keep that faith. And the wild card, I have Baltimore, the Jets, and the Chargers. And the only thing I was looking at maybe swapping is trying to get the Steelers in, but I just can't do it. I like Baltimore. I like the Jets just because of the veteran leadership with Aaron Rodgers. And I think the Chargers, they have a good team. And as long as, and they've got a good coach. And the only thing that worries me is Herbert's health. But I'm fine there. But the NFC, that's where I've got a couple changes. Or I say couple, actually, other than some seating change, I've only got one big change, and that's the Los Angeles Rams out just because the amount of injuries, and that's not a testament to their team. I think they're still a good team. They're going to fight every week. They've got a great coach. Without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, it's going to be really hard to keep up offensively. But I'm sliding the Minnesota Vikings in, and I think we have 3 teams from the NFC North making the playoffs. Because I had Green Bay there, I still have them there. I really do. I absolutely, Minnesota, I'm convinced that they will be in the playoffs, no doubt about it. And just on the outside looking in, the ones that I'm like, man, they're going to be there, and they're going to be there till the end of the year, is the Steelers in the AFC, just because they're playing run-heavy defensive football. In the NFC, it's the Commanders and the Seahawks. I could see both those teams getting in. I don't have them getting in right now. But that's the one change I have. Hey, I would like to take a moment to say, I said Philly would start slow. I said they got a new center, they got a new offensive coordinator. Now I didn't anticipate all the injuries.
Did you think that they would go be 1-3 at this point?
They're 2-2. They're not.
Cincinnati's 1-3.
I said Philly.
Oh, Philly. I'm sorry.
Cincinnati, no, I did not think. I thought they would be 2-2. I thought that they would. I thought they would open 1-0, lose. Win. I thought they would start 2-1 with a chance to start 3-1, but most likely 2-2 is where I had them. I'm not worried. And same thing, Philly. That was my other Super Bowl pick. I'm not worried right now, just because all the things I said have come true, and they've had to deal with losing their number 1 and number 2 wide receiver. I think this next 2 weeks, they've got the bye week, and then the next week coming into week 6. I think these are the most 2 important weeks of the Eagles season.
I asked this question a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
About, whether or not, is the head coach still going to be there?
And well, he will be, just because if you were going to fire him, you would have done it yesterday. But I'm not going to lie, I thought about it today. I said, should they just get over with and have a complete reset? Because I'm sorry, but this is a top 3 roster in the NFL for the Eagles. And they just need something, because there's animosity between the quarterback and the coach, between the coach and the team. We need some kind of reset. I thought we were going to be fine. I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. I just got to hope and pray.
Okay. All righty. So that's what you got, brother. So here we go. For me, when I'm looking at the team that I would add, it's the Seattle Seahawks. I'm putting them. I think they're going to make the playoffs. And I think that just from watching what they look like in the NFC, I think they can beat any team in the NFC. Whether or not that leads them to an NFC Championship or a Super Bowl,
Fair.
I think that they can beat any team. And what would be scary is if they get home field advantage. In Seattle, that team with home field advantage, I don't know, that becomes scary to me. The other team I can see coming in right now is the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, I kind of like them, and I kind of like Joe Flacco. So I
don't think they'll go that direction.
I don't think they'll go that direction. But here's the nice thing: It's a great safety net
It
to
is.
have.
It is.
It's a great safety net to have. And you're also looking at the fact that in that division, all those other teams, they're just not that good. I mean, the Titans aren't any good.
Besides Houston.
Okay, the Jaguars aren't any good, and Houston has its own problems. Who they almost beat, probably should have beat in that opening week.
Good.
Yeah, I'm just simply saying, I think the Colts can find a way to sneak themselves into that. So that means I got to have 2 teams out. Boy, am I been wrong about the Rams, and I think a lot of that has to do with what you had mentioned earlier. It's just injuries. They just cannot keep anybody healthy out there, and if you can't keep anybody healthy, so I've got to take them out at this point. And then, of course, my other pick, the Jaguars, they got to be out at this point. So I've got the Seahawks coming back into the playoff mix, and I've got the Colts coming back into the playoff mix, and I've got the Rams out, and I got the Jaguars out. Brendan, who you got?
I have 3 changes, and I think it's very important to just admit when you're wrong, when you see the tape, and I'm going to admit it to the Water Dog. The Minnesota Vikings are a playoff team.
Mm-hmm.
And so the 3 teams I have switching, surprisingly, all 3 are divisions with the teams I'm taking out. And I have the Pittsburgh Steelers getting in, I'm taking the Bengals out. I just think the start that they've had, it's very important when you come to reason, you see the film. I just think the Steelers are playing really good. And who's to say that at some point Russell Wilson doesn't come in and they get better than they are right now? They're doing this with Justin Fields. And so I got the Steelers getting in, and I got the Vikings getting in over the Packers. I think Detroit wins the division. I don't think 3 of them can get in. I think it'll be really hard. And so I do think the Vikings will get that one, and then my shot. And I think this is something that we will all get tired of in the offseason. But I have the Commanders getting in over the Cowboys. The Cowboys missed the playoffs. They're going to fire McCarthy. They'll be in the headlines everywhere. Jerry Jones will lose it all. But I think the Commanders are going to ride this wave. I don't think they're going to win that division unless, granted, if Sirianni gets fired, I think this story changes very much. But I do think the Commanders, Jay Daniels is looking really good. They are really using what Brian Kelly at LSU did with him to be successful in September right now. I think as the season goes on, he'll start to throw it a little bit more than he is running it. But I think the Commanders get in there. The Dallas Cowboys get their TV time like they want. Don't even have to make the playoffs to get it. And so, but I got the Steelers, Commanders, and Vikings making it in, with the Bengals, Cowboys, and Packers getting out.
Alrighty, so that is a big swap. Big swap. Yeah. Alrighty, gang. Well, that's what we're looking at, brother. That is the Week 5 report card. This has been the Rant Squad. I'm the Water Dog. This is
Clint Jordan.
And this is
Brendan Menard.
And we are out of here.